Radiant and Resilient is about mindset and faith to break paradigms and overcome challenges in our life. Because when the mind, body, and spirit are aligned, we literally radiate from the inside out. I'm Kay Vasquez. Let's dive in. With New Year's approaching in a couple of days, I really want to talk about New Year's resolutions and why it doesn't work. Every year I used to see it in the gym. When people would set their New Year's resolutions, there would be an influx of new people coming in, and not to judge anybody, I love that that's their intention, is to work out, to get healthier, to lose weight, whatever it is. But the problem is that their resolution was based on an external expectation, something that they thought they had to do instead of the internal transformation that needed to happen in order to achieve what they really wanted for themselves for the new year. So after a couple of weeks, those people started to not show up. And that's because when there is this pressure that we put on ourselves to resolve something, we think there's a problem. And the most common New Year's resolution is losing weight. There's a problem. I've gained all this weight. I'm unhealthy. So now I need to resolve this by losing the weight. But it puts a lot of pressure on us. And if you haven't yet, go back and listen to the episode on setting intentions, because I talk about this, and not just weight, but any New Year's resolution that you set that focuses on changing a specific outcome, something that you see is wrong. There's a problem that you want to fix. Because when we're focusing on something that we don't want, or something that we don't have, it actually creates resistance in the body. Plus, when we're focusing on achieving a specific goal, it's because we don't have it, because we're not there yet, right? So there's a lot of negative energy that comes with setting a New Year's resolution. And that's why it doesn't work. So instead of setting a New Year's resolution, what I recommend is setting a New Year's intention. So again, go back and listen to the episode on setting intentions, because I dive more into how to do that. But the key is the words, the language we use when setting an intention is going to be very powerful. And when we set the intention, we can feel it energetically in our body. We can feel if it is the right intention, if it gives us energy, if it gives us strength, if it feels light versus if it weighs us down, it feels heavy, it drains us energetically, or we feel overwhelmed thinking about it. So think about it. If your intention is to lose weight, does that excite you? Maybe initially, but when you actually take the steps to lose weight, like do intense workouts at the gym, it becomes a lot. You feel overwhelmed. Another point I want to state is that the subconscious mind doesn't like drastic change. So be aware of that. That's why setting an intention and then coming up with a plan with simple steps to start taking action towards that intention. Because when we focus on the end goal, the outcome, it's overwhelming. And the common mistake people do is that they take drastic steps, make drastic changes, and they burn out in a couple weeks. And I talk about this all or nothing mindset, because that's what I see happen, is that people take on, it's like all or nothing. I'm going to go all in 100% or I'm not going to do it. But the problem is that it leads to burnout, and then you stop doing it. You stop going after that goal that you want to achieve for yourself. So I did an episode on that. You can also go back and listen to that. And the links for those episodes will be in the show notes. But the power of setting an intention is that it's a different energy, especially when we use the right words and the right language in order to do that. And it's going to pull us towards achieving that. Now, I will say, when you set the intention, let go of how and when it's going to happen, because it's going to play out in the way that it needs to in the next year. So some people will set an intention, whether it's a statement like losing weight. When you lose the weight, well, what is it going to get you? Ultimately, you want to lose the weight because you want to be healthier. You want to have more energy to run around with your kids. So instead of losing weight, say, I want to have more energy to run around with my kids. I want to feel my healthiest, or I want to be my healthiest this year. If there are specific lab markers, like I want my cholesterol to be normal, I want my cortisol levels to be balanced, I want my hormones to be balanced, whatever it is, be really specific on the actual outcome that you want. Because yeah, you can lose the weight, but what you want is so much deeper than that. What you really want is to be healthy, to be thriving, to be radiant. Set a different intention and tune into how energetically that feels in your body. Or you can set a word for the year. Like for me, last year, I set the word spirituality for 2024. And if you've been listening along, it has definitely been a deeply spiritual year for me. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but going into 2024, I knew that pregnancy was going to be a very spiritual journey for me. I wouldn't have expected it to be, but I allowed myself to be open to what spirituality would bring for me in 2024. And that led me on a spiritual journey. And I talk about it from the beginning of this podcast, the different spiritual things that have happened in the pregnancy journey. And then I had a supernatural birth, giving birth to my daughter at home. So if you want to listen, you can go back and listen to that. But it's been an incredible year, just really deepening my faith and trust in God on a different level in different ways as I stepped out of maidenhood into motherhood. And it was just a whole nother level of surrender and spirituality for me. So that was my word for 2024. Don't know what my word will be for next year yet, but I also have a friend of mine who set the word for bloom this year. Things happened in her life. She had a lot of trials and challenges, and she didn't think that she bloomed this year. However, when I pointed out to the different things that have happened over the course of this year in regards to raising her prices with her clients and letting go of clients that were not seeing her value, and then she took on new clients that saw her value, that were better aligned. And then she went through a breakup, which she had a lot of resistance. It took several months for her to realize that this relationship wasn't serving her. And once she went through the breakup, she realized she bloomed in so many beautiful ways, recognizing that she had settled in this relationship and she wasn't fully her authentic self in the relationship. So there were so many areas in her life where she bloomed, and it started to come into fruition at the end of the year. Even though I felt like I haven't bloomed yet, I'm like, but you have. You bloomed in so many beautiful ways because of the challenges and trials that you went through, all the uncomfortable moments that cause you to stretch and grow and step into your truth, into your authenticity, into alignment with who you really are, who God created you to be. So setting a word for the year can be very, very powerful. Just let go of how it's going to show up in your life and when it's going to happen, because it may be the first couple of months, it might take the whole year, because we go on a journey and God will present us with circumstances and opportunities and people in order for us to grow in that way. So if it's spirituality, if it's faith, if it's rest, sometimes rest can be a very powerful word or intention going into the new year because of our busy lives. And what I've seen from a lot of clients is that if we're not incorporating rest into our day and improving the quality of our sleep, maybe improving the quality of your sleep can be an intention for the year. Because when we focus on sleep, that optimizes our health. It optimizes how we show up, helps us become more radiant, more resilient. We're able to navigate stress. There's so many benefits to sleep. So going back to rest, it's one thing that I dive into with clients. Are you taking time to rest during the day, to take a break? What's the quality of your sleep? If you're not good at resting and you're exhausted and burnt out, maybe rest or getting good quality sleep is your intention for the new year, which then can result in an improvement in your health, physical health, mental health, emotional health, and even spiritual health. because rest, stillness, allows us to connect with God. So I encourage you to set an intention for the new year, and it can be as simple as just one word, something that you want to magnify, something that you want to experience more of in the new year. But I will say, be prepared because you will be met with challenges and opportunities to fulfill this intention or this word that you choose. But it's for your growth, it's for your evolution, to help you become stronger, to become the person that God created you to be. So if you haven't yet, take some time, 5-10 minutes, go into quiet and stillness. You can pray to God and ask God, like, what are some areas in my life that you want to transform? And also, how can I glorify you in my goals? Or how can I glorify you in achieving that? And then see what God speaks into your heart, whether it is a sentence or a word. If it's a word or a sentence, you can even look up scripture. So, for example, transformation. I love the verse, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So maybe this year it's focusing on just transforming your mindset around things, because our actions, our behaviors don't change until we change our mindset. And that's another reason why New Year's resolutions don't work out, because people change their behavior, but they don't look at the mindset behind the behavior. So when people go to lose weight, they're exercising, going on a diet, eating better foods. They haven't changed their mindset, their beliefs behind why they're eating healthier or eating better or why they're exercising. Because most of the time it's like, oh, I have to eat better or I have to exercise in order to lose weight, versus I choose to eat better because it's going to give me energy. I choose to exercise because I feel good when I exercise. So you have to change the mindset, the thinking, which then changes our actions and behaviors. So that's another key point that I want to add. Also, when we set the intention, create a plan of small, simple steps to achieve that, but also check in with your mindset, your thoughts and beliefs behind taking those action steps. If your mindset and your beliefs don't give you energy, don't feel good, feels heavy, feels like pressure, then shift it into a thought or a belief that would give you energy, that would help propel you, move you towards taking that action step. So when you choose an intention or a word, I recommend finding a Bible verse and then writing it somewhere so you can see it every day. Then create a plan of small, simple steps that you can start taking, but don't put pressure on yourself to do it all within the first couple of weeks of the new year. Because remember, it's a journey, it's a process. So to recap, instead of setting a resolution, like for example, lose 10 pounds, an intention can be, I want to honor God with my body because my body is the temple. And when I honor my body as the temple, I feel my best. I feel healthy. I feel energized. And then you can link it to scripture. This one specifically is linked to 1 Corinthians 6:19 that says, do you not know that your bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you? And then from there, write out a simple action plan, such as starting with a daily 5-10 minute walk, drinking more water. So a rule of thumb can be half your body weight in ounces. And if you're drinking half that amount, start there. And then add 8 ounces per week until you get up until that point. So if your goal is to drink 80 ounces, but you're currently at 40, start at 40 and then increase by 8 ounces a week until you get up to 80 ounces. And then once you start going for a daily walk, adding in more water, then you can focus on the next thing, which is cooking one meal at home or meal prepping one meal. So when you meal prep, you're going to make like enough food for 3 to 4 days. So you have food that's ready to go, ready available, that you've cooked. It's not processed. You can just grab and go, because I get it. We're all busy. And then once you do that, another simple step could be going to bed 30 minutes earlier. So start with that, especially if your goal, your intention is to optimize the quality of your sleep. Go to bed 30 minutes earlier. and then eventually work your way up to a more ideal bedtime. So if you go to bed at like 12, 1 o'clock, and you want to go to bed at 9 o'clock, start going to bed 15, 30 minutes earlier for like a week or two. And then when you get used to that, then go to bed a little bit earlier the next week. When you get used to that, then start going to bed earlier and earlier until you get to your end goal. So I hope you found this helpful as far as tips to set a New Year's intention instead of a New Year's resolution. And once you set that intention, I'd love to hear from you. Please share with me on Instagram at the Kate Vasquez. Once I set my intention, I can't wait to share it with you on the podcast, and especially how it plays out over next year. But in the meantime, I just want to say how grateful I am that you're tuning in, you're listening, whether you just started tuning in or you've been with me from the start. I am just so excited for what 2025 will bring. Know that whatever happens in 2025, because sometimes things will happen in the new year, we think it's a new year, it's going to be a better year, but things are going to happen unexpectedly, out of our control every single year. So how can you continue to work on yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, so when those trials, those challenges do pop up, you can stay radiant and resilient through it all. And most importantly, seeking God first, seeking His kingdom, seeking His strength, His wisdom, His guidance, because we can't navigate this life alone. So remember that as you go into 2025, be open to the circumstances that are happening in your life. Instead of asking the question, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this, God? How is this making me stronger? And know that God is with you. He's with you every step of the way, not just on the mountain. He's there with you in the valley. And in those moments, we feel challenged, we feel discouraged, we are disappointed, we're hurting, whatever it is, know that God is there with you. And He's been with me in those moments. He's never left me. Even though sometimes it doesn't feel like He's there, He's always there. Know that. Be encouraged that 2025 will be however you make it to be, because it's based on our perceptions of what's happening in our life. And we always have a choice. We always have a choice. But also know that God is in control. And if we can just let go and surrender and have faith and trust in God, who has a greater plan than we can ever imagine, and also have faith and trust that the trials and challenges are only strengthening us, it's helping us to grow, to step into that purpose He has for us, then we can navigate each day, each month, each year with more resilience and radiance. So I will leave you with that as we go into 2025. I'll see you next year.